there are some really cool flowers that I want to draw, but they're on the other side of the creek. So I have to use binoculars. Now, how do you draw while looking through binoculars? That's what I'm going to show you in this video. First, I want to point out that the type of binoculars you're using is going to make a big difference. I'm using these Pentax Papilio extreme close focus binoculars, which I love. Ever since I got these, I hardly ever take out my other fancier, bigger binoculars. These ones are lightweight, they're inexpensive, so I'm not too worried about getting them messed up in the field. Because they're so small, they don't take up a lot of space on my chest when I have my drawing supplies here. And because they're so short, it allows for me to alternate between looking through them at my subject and looking at my paper. And that alternation is really the key to drawing through binoculars. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So right now, what I'm gonna do is I am going to get my subject matter lined up through my binoculars, and I'm gonna put this top part of the binoculars right against this brow bone where my eyebrow is, right above my eyes. And you can see that I am looking through the binoculars, but my face is at a little bit of an angle, so my binoculars are not like squished up against the bottom of my eye. They're really lined up with that upper part of my eyebrow, but I make sure that I can still see my subject clearly. But now what you might be able to notice is that I can look down while I'm still holding the binoculars against my brow and am lined up with my subject. I can look down underneath them at my paper. All right, let's do this. My thumb muscle right here is starting to get a little tired, and if I were using bigger binoculars than these, this would probably not be a possible drawing technique. But let me just show you a little bit. Those are the flowers over there that I'm drawing. Here's a little close-up. It's a compound inflorescence. It's a plant in the mint family. So this type of inflorescence has some interesting perspective stuff going on. It's not really the best drawing of it, but you get the idea of how to draw with binoculars. If you want to know more about how to draw this kind of flowers, check out this video from John Muirlaws. So I didn't really like the way that drawing was going, but one great trick is when you don't like the way a drawing is going, turn it into a diagram. And you can see that this inflorescence, I didn't do a super studied job of getting it in perspective. So I zoomed in with my binoculars to flowers on both sides and did these blow up boxes where I zoomed in on that. And by turning it into a diagram, I made it actually look a lot more interesting. Now I'm going to show you the other way to draw with binoculars. It's a lot harder and it takes a while to get used to, but basically you alternate between looking through the binoculars and drawing. So you'll hold your binoculars up, look at whatever you see, and this is the only way you can do when you're standing up, because the way that I just showed you only works if you're sitting on something and have a stable place to put your drawing pad. I guess it could work if you had a tripod for your sketchbook, but that's a lot more materials than most people take nature journaling. So the other method for using binoculars is to look through the binoculars at your subject and then put your binoculars down and draw. So I'm gonna do that for a little bit. We'll see. I'm definitely not as good at this method. It's not as self-explanatory, so I'm gonna give it a shot here on the bottom of my page. So I'm looking through at that flower, and one thing that is critical to this method is your visual memory. So a lot of us actually don't have a great visual memory. It takes a lot of brain power to remember detailed visual information. So our brain actually stores things in cartoonish versions. So for drawing, however, you have to really have detailed visual information. So one trick to help with help boost your memory, your visual memory, is to verbalize what you see. And while you're looking through the binoculars, if you verbalize what you're observing, so I'm noticing a paler color coming out of the center of the flower, and it's spreading out at like a 45-degree angle on each side. Then you put your binoculars down, you draw the visual memory and get as much as you can, then look again. Bring your binoculars back up, look at find the subject, look at it. Okay, I'm noticing I'm noticing it angles up on the other side at a slightly steeper angle. You put your binoculars down and you draw. Now you can see this method is going to take a lot longer as well, and each time you put your binoculars down and then have to bring them back up, you have to find your subject again. So the original method that I showed you is definitely superior, but if you have to, this method is good as well. This is how you'd also draw from a scope. Both of these methods require practice, and the more you try, the better you'll get. So start learning how to draw while looking through binoculars today and start practicing that at home.